welcome back to Tony Northeastern and another episode of me messing around on the railway. I'd just like to say a big thank you to everybody who's been commented on the videos, and I do try and get back to you in the comments, but there's been so many of them recently, just inundated, which is a good thing, because I do like the conversations that we have. Anyway, you're probably wondering why I am over at Jarrah Road. It's very simple. We're going to talk about buffer stops and how to stop crashing into them or bumping into them. Here at Jarrah Road I have a sensor here. This is from Train Tech, and when the locomotive comes along it lights up a light on my control panel, and it lets me know how close I am to the buffers, which is pretty good. Anyway, I normally drive along here in slow speed. Now the reason I'm doing this video is because John over at Exhaven Harbour, he's discussed this in his video about crashing into buffers. The last thing we want to do is do that and knock a buffer beam off, or a buffer off a loco, or even a coupling. So yeah, and this station is unique because it's got high walls either side, and you can't see what's going on even from over there where the control panel is. Hence why I've got a sensor there. The Victorians back in them days, they didn't worry about what you could see from the sky, they just wanted to build grand stations. Anyway, so that's one idea. So, how do we stop this from happening? Well, this was caused deliberately just to show you that accidents do happen, and I didn't hit the buffers that hard. Plus the buffers on the DMU are sprung loaded, so they can take a little bit of punishment. Now, other ways of ensuring that we can stop this from happening is to put a little camera in amongst the buffer stop, in between the two supporting beams there. That's one way, and the other way is basically hand and eye control to stop human error. But anyway, for this purposes I want to show you how I can fix this problem, especially if we're in blind spots where we can't actually see the buffer stops. However, we do have one issue here if I'm going to modify the track, and that is there is LEDs fitted to these buffers which pick up the supply from the track. As you can probably see there's one leg of the LEDs goes this side and the other leg goes that side with the resistor on. So my plan here is to create a dead spot in the track, like I used to do when I had the old analog layout before this one. So that's what I've come up with. So let's see how I do it. So here's our feed cables for that track work. So this is what I'm going to use to isolate one of the tracks. So it's a case of disconnecting it from the buzz bar, wherever it is. There it is. So connecting it from the buzz bar and feeding it directly to the control panel, and then taking a supply from the buzz bar via a switch. And that should work. That should isolate that section. I have placed this N2 locomotive onto the track to show you what 230 millimeters look like. So that's basically a small locomotive with a tender, so that's be about there. So I think we'll call it 240, give myself an extra little bit. And if it does run past that and it keeps going, because of where the pickups are on the locomotives, I've still got that much room there for it to slow down and stop by itself. Right, so now let's get busy. Right, so I've cut the track here and here, and what I used is the good old razor saw. You can just get in there, just backwards and forwards, as long as you don't touch the other rail, that should be okay. So as you can see, I've done that. What I'll do is I'll leave this little marker here for where I've cut the track, and we shall see if the DMU will stop after it's gone past that point. There you go. If I just turn the camera, it hasn't hit the buffers. So as you can see, I've still got a good 15 millimeters from buffer to buffer. So that works. So now what we've got to do is add some switches. Right, so I've dropped 3 cables down now. I've done one for the buffer stop so that the light continues to glow, and I've added one here where I've already polished the track and smoothed away the solder, and I've just got this last one to do. It's nearly there. I've just got to take that solder off that corner there just to make sure that it doesn't catch any of the rolling stock. And once that's done, a little bit of painting, you'll never know that I've done this little job. That's it, it's just about there now. So that's the cables in, and I've just got to do the work in the panel. Before we do the test run, I just want to show you how it works inside the control panel. So here's the supply that runs the signals on the layout, which has come via the ECOS, which is powers the whole of the DCC buzz bar. So what I've done is I've taken a spur off the back of the supply coming into the signals to its own isolation supply here for the switches. So where I've cut the track twice, I've named them isolation 1 and 2, and they go up through the panel, through the trunk, and I mean round the back of these cables up through to these 2 switches here. Now these are just plain on and off switches, so that's where they are. So there's 1 and there's 2. So I just thought I'd show you that so you get a rough idea where the supply is coming from. And then it becomes the 1.2 cable is the cable that goes back to the track, and the 1 mil cable is the actual supply. So that's how I know the difference between the two, just in case you're wondering about that. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you this before we do the actual test to see if all this works. And here's where the switches are on the panel. There they are there. Switch 1, switch 2, and they're both turned on at the moment, so we'll just flick them up to turn them off. Right, so let's give the locomotive a little test, see if it will stop at each cut in the track. First cut coming up now. There you go. So what I'll do, put the switch on. don't forget that first cut was for a DMU, and we'll give that a test in a minute. So it's come up to the second cut and it stopped, and now we're on the controller. And, right, we don't want to go into the buffers, otherwise all that work will be a waste of time. Anyway, you can see the LEDs working, so that's got its own separate supply from the droppers. Right, so we'll test the DMU. I have now added a couple of LEDs which will tell me if the track is live, so when a train leaves I can then just flick these off and that will isolate that track, so it shouldn't hit the buffers. So this kind of modification you can use for either DCC or DC. So let's run a test on the DMU and see what happens. Now it's the DMU's turn to stop, and it should stop after the last wheel passes the cut here, so it's roughly about there. So I've put that little lady there. It should just stop after that. There you go. And we're a good inch off the buffers. So there's a little fail safe. I mean, I wouldn't normally run the train that fast into the bay anyway, but it's an idea out there for you guys who want to control your trains so they don't hit the buffers. Anyway, little short video. Hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. Bye.